I'm back! It's been a crazy couple of weeks here in Notes World, but I'm back and I'm ready to review. So the first album up on review is Kamelot.
Camelot. 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 It's only a model. Shh.
I should have reviewed this a long time ago.
Let us ride to Camelot.
Yes, Kamelot is back with their latest effort, Haven. Now, before I even start reviewing this album, I do need to come clean with one thing. I'm not the biggest fan of this type of metal, and I'm not really that familiar with it either, so whenever I listen to it, it all kind of sounds the same to me, and I believe that's more that I'm just not familiar with it, I'm not used to it, so I took a little bit longer of getting into this album. Kamelot is kind of akin to that symphonic gothic metal. The vocals are very dramatic, very emotional, and very operatic. This type of music begs to be listened to in a giant cathedral or a grand hall. I find that Kamelot spends a lot of time really getting into that dark, atmospheric setting of the music and creating really intense environments. I do love that dark atmosphere, that creepy moods and tones that they really set down. There are a lot of nooks and crannies for things to hide in musically. There's always something just hiding off of the wings of the music, and there are some really meaty sections in the music as well. I really dig the Black Halo, and I also really enjoyed Ghost Opera. Although, after I listened to these and other albums from them, I did feel there was a lot of more of the same going on, but if you're digging that kind of music, why even change? I did notice through the progression of their albums, they are getting a little bit more brutal in their sound, especially within the vocals. I didn't get a chance to check out all of their albums. I didn't even get a chance to check out Silverthorn, their 2012 release, but their Poetry for Their Poisoned album ended on a very brutal note. So then, what do we have for their 11th studio album from this gothic symphonic metal group? Let's actually take a look at the album and stop all this prelude. And it has about the same amount of impact as all the other albums that I've listened to had for me. It's pretty dense, so it does bear repeating. There's a lot of dramatics going on the album, which is what you've kind of come to expect from the band. Roy Khan on vocals brings his A game here, and he belts it out from start to finish. Even on those slower tracks, like Under the Grey Skies, there's a lot of powerhouse emotion found there. I also love the intermixing between the background female vocals that are found here. I always kind of picture a ghost coming in and out of this music. Coupled with this, we have a lot of those background instrumentals that really make this band stand out in their own field. You've got big keyboard effects, which makes it sound like there's a flood of horns coming at you and a lot of violins crashing against it. The best part about this is it never feels forced or cheesy like a lot of other bands that try to employ this technique do. It feels natural and a part of the musical landscape that the songs paint. It doesn't feel like a metal version of a Danny Elfman song, nor does it feel like it's just being added on as like a second thought. Let's take a look at some of the specific movements on this album. I love the song Citizen Zero. It's a really great instrumental keyboard interlude near the end, which I really dig and really love. And it's answered by a guitar later on in the song. And I love that play, that call and answer. And there's Vale of Elysium, which is another standout track. It starts off with a very powerful combo of horn sounds and great chugging guitars, which sets the tone for the whole song throughout. I love that rise and fall that you have throughout the track as well, like the leaps and valleys. It feels like you're on a runaway train at night through like a really dark woods in the middle of winter. It's a really great and gothic landscape. And I gotta call out those slower tracks, especially Under the Grey Skies, for being that perfect breath of fresh air from such a heavy start to the album. And speaking of which, I love that end to Innocence. I love that meaty riff that carries through the songs. All too often with this kind of music, especially for somebody that doesn't quite grab onto this music very easily, it's very easy to be drowned out in atmosphere. And with this song, it allows me to grab on to that meaty hook of that chugging guitar and hang on, so I have something to kind of hum along to as the song is going forward. It leaves me with more of an actual impression of the song itself. Most of the time, it feels like I'm just being haunted by the atmosphere, and trying to recall the actual song itself is harder for me to do. So it's a really neat aspect because I remember the atmosphere and I remember the moods of being in the song, but to actually remember the song itself, it's hard to do. And I love that in a gothic kind of a sound. So I love with End of Innocence, I'm at least able to grab on to that chugginess to carry me through the song. Finally, on that second last track of Revolution, about halfway through, it gets intense. Right from the gates, they set the mood. Again, these guys are all about atmosphere, so they really take their time to get it right. In the background, in the first few minutes, you get kind of a hint of where the song is going with those hint of growls. Coupled with that, you have that haunting female vocals that just keeps drifting in and out. It's almost as though a ghost and either like a demon or a werewolf or some kind of evil presence are dancing together in this song, and it's so really well crafted. Elevation to a higher But it's in that middle section that I love this song, that it really breaks through. You have that lone chugging guitar with that haunting female voice coming in and out as though it's that ghost that's slowly approaching you, but always kind of like taking a step back, coming forward and taking that step back. And then finally you hear that outburst of revolution in that like growly, almost a revolt against everything that's been going on. It ends with that emotional clean vocals and bringing everything again to that crashing end. So all in all, I really enjoyed Haven, even if it isn't my favorite type of music. The album balances very well between that hard, intense metal moments and that melancholy, soft, orchestrated movements. This isn't just between songs, but also within songs. I love a song that changes, and these guys move around so much you'd think they were ghosts themselves. Again, it bears repeating that I was left after listening to this album with the feeling of the atmosphere and the mood of the music than the actual notes and the chords that were being played. I can remember what it felt like listening to this music, but I couldn't actually remember the music itself. Very ghosty and very well done. And I love that idea. Kamelot has always been that haunting metal band for me, and having that music always just be beyond the veil is a delicious concept and one that they carried through very well. And that's my take on it. What did you guys think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? How do you think it compared to their previous work and their other works that they've done? And I want to know, what is your favorite gothic song? It could be anything. One of mine is Genetic Emancipation. If you haven't heard it, check it out. It's from Repo, the Genetic Opera. And that's it. Note tipped.